Hello, welcome. In this video we explain why did the Ottoman Empire join the World War I with the Central Powers. The Ottoman government, or at least the overwhelming majority in it, as well as the Allies did not want the Ottoman Empire to join the war. However, a series of events orchestrated by the Germans, with the collusion of Enver Pasha, the single most influential and powerful military and political figure in the country at the time, who believed in alliance with Germany and the eventual victory would lighten the country's foibles, put the empire in a path of no return. Here's the background. The Ottoman Empire had fought a number of defensive wars consecutively for a decade by 1914. The country was in no shape to fight another war. Territories were lost, the economy was busted. People were tired. No one wanted another war, yet it looked like there was another war in the horizon. So, despite the desire to stay neutral, it was decided that it would be a good idea to ally with one of the major powers to safeguard Ottoman survival. Delegates were sent to gauge the situation and see how the majors would respond. Great Britain wasn't really interested. Russia was interested, but their terms basically relegated the empire to a protectorate, so it was passed. France was also interested, but since they were allied with Russia they had to say no. Germany was really interested, and so under the leadership of Enver Pasha, the Ottoman-German alliance was born. When the war started, the Ottoman government was not eager to join in. So they stayed out of it. Shortly before the start of hostilities, in Germany, Kaiser Wilhelm II had ordered that in the event of war Goeben and Breslau, a battlecruiser and a light cruiser, which were stationed in the Adriatic under command of Rear Admiral Wilhelm Souchon, should either conduct raids in western Mediterranean or break out into the Atlantic and attempt to return to German waters. Souchon, fearing being trapped in the Adriatic if war broke out as the situation was worsening, decided to sail out. The ships were en route to Algeria when they received word of declaration of war against France. So he started shelling North African bases. Then, Admiral von Tirpitz and Admiral von Pohl sent secret orders to Souchon, ordering him to sail to Constantinople, without the Kaiser's knowledge and against his orders. No doubt in collusion with Enver Pasha. The ships arrived in Constantinople, though the empire was still a neutral country at this point, and so the ships couldn't stay in port for more than 24 hours by international law. This is where Enver Pasha comes into picture, again. It was proposed that the ships be sold to the Ottomans through a fictitious sale. However, before the Germans could respond and without telling the Ottoman cabinet, Enver Pasha declared that the Ottoman Empire had purchased the ships from the German Empire. The ships were renamed Yavuz and Midili, respectively. Their German crews were given Ottoman uniforms and Wilhelm Souchon was offered and after his acceptance assigned as the admiral of the Turkish fleet. Enver Pasha and Admiral Souchon colluded to create the groundwork for future Ottoman entry into war. Turkish fleets started venturing into the Black Sea, under the guise of performing maneuvers. Enver Pasha hoped to encounter the Russian ships at sea and claim self-defense. Admiral Souchon, however, had other plans. He attacked Odessa, Sevastopol, Feodosia, Yalta and Novorossiysk with 3 separate squadrons. Turkish officers actually landed in Feodosia and Yalta after seeing no opposition and warned the civilian population there that they would start shelling the area soon, giving him enough time to evacuate. He would later admit that he acted the way he did specifically to force the Ottomans into the war as soon as possible. In the meantime, the Russian Navy was given strict orders to not fire first against the Ottomans. They wanted to make it clear to the international community that they were the ones being attacked first. After the raids on Russian cities, a two-day political crisis followed. The Grand Vizier, basically the Prime Minister, and the cabinet forced Enver Pasha to issue a ceasefire order to Sushon as soon as they found out. Several high-ranking officials, including the Grand Vizier, threatened to resign in protest. 4 of them later did. Enver Pasha informed the Germans that he was going to issue an apology to the Russians and that there was nothing he could do. The British, unaware of the situation in Constantinople, thought the Ottoman government was in collusion with the Germans. Only Enver Pasha was, and immediately issued an ultimatum that they remove Admiral Sushon and his German subordinates from their posts. The Ottomans didn't comply. Meanwhile, Winston Churchill, who was First Lord of the Admiralty at the time, the Chief of the Navy basically, ordered British forces to commence hostilities against the Ottomans in the Mediterranean without immediately telling anyone. But we're not done yet. Enver Pasha, fearing that the Russians would actually accept the Ottoman apology, decided to interfere and added a passage that accused the Russians of instigating it all, just before sending the message. The Russians responded with an ultimatum, demanding that the Ottomans remove the German military mission from the country. The Ottomans rejected. The same day, November 1st, British forces started to carry out Churchill's orders and attacked Ottoman shipping off of Izmir. The night of the attack, the anti-war faction in the Ottoman government had to concede that the country was at war. The Russians declared war on the Ottoman Empire the next day, November 2nd, and the fleet was ordered to retaliate. 2 days later, the Russian fleet bombarded Zonguldak. On November 3rd, British ships bombarded the Dardanelles. 2 days later, Great Britain and France declared war on the Ottoman Empire. Winston Churchill was blamed for bringing the Ottomans into the war. He would later be blamed for the Gallipoli fiasco, essentially ruining his career until WW2. The Ottoman government eventually declared war on the Entente on November 11th. So there you have it, a handful of influential German and Ottoman assholes conspiring against their governments. Along with an over-ambitious and deeply racist Winston Churchill had caused the Ottoman Empire to enter the war. Despite their desire and attempts to remain neutral, it was also Churchill who ordered 2 battleships, Sultan Osman I and Raisidie, that had been built for the Ottoman Navy in British shipyards to be seized mere minutes from the handover ceremony and put into British service, as HMS Agincourt and HMS Erin, even before commencement of hostilities against the Germans. What's more, the funding for the battleships had actually been secured with public donations from private citizens, schools, mosques, taverns, cafes, markets, etc. And the seizure of these ships by the British had caused a public outcry in the Ottoman Empire, greatly souring public opinion against Britain and acting as one of the biggest contributors to Ottoman acceptance of the German ships and the eventual entry of the county into the war.